Hi guys, welcome back to the next video in this channel and in this series. Today we're going to continue with the lighthouse, and I'm going to be showing you some very cool tricks with textures as well. We're going to work with textures right now. And before we continue, I just wanted to apologize. We did plan a video for yesterday, a special video, but unfortunately we ran into some technical issues and we couldn't release it just yet. However, hopefully I think we will be releasing it today on Thanksgiving. So just stay tuned, get the little bell icon right there so that you can be the first one to know. And again, I would like to apologize because we couldn't deliver yesterday. We did have that special announcement, but we couldn't deliver. So it's coming. The video is coming. It's going to be a really cool video, so just wait for it, okay? So let's go on to this part right here. So we're in a point now with the lighthouse right here in where most of like the, let's say, like the broad shapes of things are ready. Like if you remember, we modeled the life savers or the lifeguards a couple of days ago or a couple of sessions ago, and those ones are ready. So we still have like several things to do. However, I think one of the big ones is going to be this section right here, which is going to be the stone section. So let's talk a little bit about that one. So the stone section, let me grab the image so we can see both of them. We're not going to need the door, so I'm actually going to delete like this faces right here. Oh, not that one. There we go. We don't need this lower faces. If you get this thing, that's soft selection. Most of you guys already know, but for those of you that don't, it's like this sort of like gradient selection where things move in a nicer way. Just a B, like letter cap, or just like normal B from what, like B from baby. And that's the one that we're gonna use. We also don't need this guys right here. And we definitely don't need this one. So I'm gonna press number 3 to see if we have like any weird like topology. Like this line that we have right there, we can delete it. So Control Delete to just delete it. And there we go. Like even this guys right here, I'll probably get rid of them because we can use wood to kind of like frame the door. I think that's gonna be easier. And that's one trick that they do quite a bit nowadays in video games. It used to be where we would like calculate everything so that we had like some nice like insets and stuff. Nowadays you just like overlap things on top of each other and it looks good. It actually looks a little bit better, just like more shadows, more lights. So yeah. Now I'm gonna go and look for a texture, and again I'm gonna try to use the free textures here, but I do want to use something different, and I'm gonna be using Marmoset to show you this. Which, by the way, if you haven't taken a look at, if you haven't seen our Marmoset course, we released a course a couple of weeks ago about all of the things that you need to know about Marmoset. So very comprehensive element. So I wanna get like this sort of like brick texture, but I want this like old brick look. So just like stone on top of stone, kind of like this. Like this factory brick, I think looks good. We could modify the color. Or this one looks great. This is what I want. So as you can see here on the image, that's what we have. The only difference is that this one is brown. I'm gonna show you how to make it gray. So when I hit download over here, in this particular case, I do want to export my displacement because we are gonna be using displacement. And I'm gonna export on both EXR and JPEG so that you can see the difference. As you can see, EXR is gonna be a little bit heavier. It should be a little bit heavier. Apparently it's not. Roughness, normal map, it's OpenGL, that's fine. I'm in Resolution Raw, there we go. So we're just gonna download. Now let me open Photoshop because we're gonna be using Photoshop. And let me open this in my download folder. So we're gonna unzip it. I personally use 7zip, which is a free source thing. I know that WinRAR, you can use WinRAR and they won't charge you. They will remind you that you need to pay for it, right? But they won't charge you. I like 7zip. Some people like WinZip. Both of them work. So let's go here, assets, lighthouse, and I'm gonna create a new one called rock walls. And here, let's drag the textures. There we go. So we have all of the textures here. Now I'm immediately gonna go here into Photoshop, bring the diffuse color of the texture, which is tiling. As you can see, this is a tileable texture, which is great, by the way. This is a very nice texture. And if I were to look at this, guys, I'm gonna see that they're like sort of like grayish. Now there's a little bit of tone there, like earth tones. So I'm not just gonna like go here and hit Control Shift U to desaturate the whole thing because that's just gonna give me a very weird element. I'm gonna go Control U. Control U is the shortcut inside of ZBrush to go into the hue and saturation. And I'm just gonna lower the saturation. I'm probably gonna make it a little bit darker. And if you don't want to have this like super intense, I can do Control L, which is going to be my levels. And I want to crunch the dark colors here, but I want to bring the whites back like this. So see how we can play around with like this sort of thing. Now another cool trick that you can use here is we can create a new layer and fill it with like a medium gray tone like this. And then we can do like an overlay or like some sort of like blending mode. Like one that gives us like this sort of like grayish color. Like soft light, like overlay looks good. And then just lower the opacity, so like a 50%. So that's gonna like darken the whole image a little bit. Now I'm gonna save this, Control-Shift-S, but I'm not gonna save on top of this one. I'm gonna save it as a new one, just in case we wanna keep the original. It's always a good idea to keep the original, just in case you need it later on. Gray is with A or with I? It's gray or gray? Gray? Because I know there's Grey's Anatomy. My wife saw the whole series. It seems that both of them are valid. It depends on where you live. If you live in the United States, you will use gray with A, and if you live somewhere else, like in Britain, you're gonna use gray with E. So apparently both of them work. Oh, interesting. We learn something new every day. There we go. So now here's the deal, right? Like we need to create the UVs for this thing in such a way that they become tileable. So I'm gonna show you a technique which is super cool. It's kind of like an old technique. Like we like this is the kind of technique that I was taught when I was a student like 10 years ago, and a lot of people forget about this nowadays because we have unfold and layout and stuff like that. But the traditional UV mapping techniques that we have are actually pretty handy for this sort of thing. So what I'm gonna do, let's assign a new material here. Let's say Lambert, and let's assign let's do the history here. And this Lambert we're gonna call M rock wall. Rock wall. Sorry for the whole like thing. That's part of the new Cardinal. So when you see the shortcuts, it's very nice, but when you write it, it becomes like a mess. So here on the color, we're of course gonna input a color map. So let's jump onto our next slide. By the way, happy Thanksgiving, guys. I almost forgot. I was gonna mention this at the beginning of the video. Happy Thanksgiving for all of you guys that celebrated. Personally, well, here in Mexico, it's not something that we usually celebrate. When I was living in the United States, while I was learning and studying, I did celebrate it, and I found that there was a super nice what's the word, celebration or party. Like it was always nice to be with the family and just celebrate those sort of things. So I'm gonna hit open, and as you can see, we have this, which is perfectly fine. Like I am expecting this. We're gonna go now to the bump mapping. I'm gonna assign a file node, and we're gonna assign a tangent space normal. So we're gonna file here, and I was gonna show you a quick little trick here. You can just like copy and paste the route, and get it. I'm gonna have to navigate again. If I had set it up the project beforehand, I would be skipping a couple of steps here, but not a big deal. So here, normal map. There we go. Remember, the normal map should be set to raw so that we don't see it. You can see the elements over there, so it is working. Now let's jump quickly onto the hypershade, and I'm gonna just like estimate a normal like coordinate. Sorry, like a normal coordinate repetition for this thing. So I'm gonna plug in these out UVs into the map right here so that we can control them both with this one, and then that way we are only gonna be using one. So let's say like 10 and 10. So as you can see, this is looking a little bit better. Like it's close to the size that we want. It's actually working very nicely, and the reason this might be working is because on the UV editor, this is kind of like a box. I think we started with a box or something, and we bevel. So the box actually kept like a very nice effect. So I think this is gonna be more than enough, because once we grab this UV shell and scale it up, as you can see, we're gonna have like a proper size for the walls. So here's the trick that I want to show you. Like if we want to create a mapping that perfectly like tiles on the backside of the element, we're going to be using something called cylindrical mapping. So I'm going to grab this guy right here. I'm going to go into UV, and I'm going to hit cylindrical mapping. And this will create a cylindrical mapping UV. However, right now, this is actually breaking. As you can see here, there's this like a ring around the whole thing. And I need to press this little T icon over here. I'm going to press the T icon. Or no, sorry. Let me go back. Let's go again. UV. We're going to say cylindrical mapping. There we go. And then there's going to be this little red square over here. I'm going to push it all the way to the back until it matches with the other red square. And what that is doing, and this is why I love the cylindrical mapping, by default, this cylindrical mapping will snap the top edge of your object, as you can see here, to the top edge, and the bottom edge to the bottom edge. So now, as you can see, this is perfectly like square. Now, of course, this is not where it's supposed to be, so I'm going to hit Control L, layout. I have my settings in the layout option set to horizontal, so I'm going to go modify, layout, and on the options over here, I'm going to change from vertical to horizontal and hit apply. Control L. Hey. Okay, no big deals. Let's say like we have this and we want to fix it. Thankfully, on the UV toolkit, we have an option over here on the transform options. We can place the pivot point on the center and then just rotate this around with this one right here. Boom, there we go. So now, as you can see, our object has a very nice tiling texture. I think now it's too much, like the amount of bricks is a little bit too much. So we're gonna go back to the options here, to the files, and if we jump onto the UV file, or the input connection, or where is it? Let's go to this thing. There we go. We go into the place 2D. Let's say instead of 10, let's do like 6. And let's see how this looks. That's a little bit better. Like you can see the size of the rocks, and this one looks a little bit better. And having less tiling will also help with the fact that we're not gonna be having like such a big like it's not gonna be super obvious that the thing is tiling because there's gonna be less of those tiles. And that's it. Like as you can see, this tiles very, very nicely. However, you might be wondering, well, this I mean, it looks okay, but can we make it look a little bit better? And the answer is yes. Once we have this mapping, I can actually go into all of the edges right here and bevel them, because usually it's very, very difficult to have like a perfectly 90-degree angle in real life. So I'm gonna bevel those, modify the fraction a little bit, and maybe like at a segment, and it's gonna round off some of the corners, as you can see. So this is gonna look a little bit more natural, because again, stones wouldn't cut just like a perfect 90-degree angle. Now I'm gonna do something, and this is skipping a little bit ahead, but I want to show you how this thing is gonna work. Now, before I do this, I do want to add a couple more divisions here, just to get like the general like distribution of squares to be as nice as possible. This is gonna, of course, add more geometry to the whole thing. But it's gonna work, or it's gonna help with something called displacement that we're gonna be doing inside of Unreal, and right now inside of Marmoset, so that I can show you. So as you can see, I'm adding this sort of like divisions pretty much overall. It's not like a big deal. As you can see, it's only 446 triangles, so it's perfectly fine. But this will allow me to, when we smooth or when we decimate or tessellate this thing, it will tessellate a little bit better, because when you have like super big areas of planes and you start tessellating, you're gonna get like super weird triangles, and you're gonna get even more tessellation to get like the proper result. So this should work just fine. So I'm gonna grab this. Let's delete history. I'm gonna say File, Export Selection. Again, let's set the project just in case. So where is it? Next to light. There we go. Set. So we go Assets, Lighthouse, Rock Walls. I'm going to export it right here. Let's do an FBX. I prefer FBXs, and let's call this Rock Wall. Oh my god. Rock Wall. Caps. There we go. Rock Wall Test. There we go. So let's open Marmoset real quick. Now, while Marmoset is opening, over here, I still have my folder with all the textures, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna hit File, Import Model. Let's jump all the way to our next to live again. Here we go. Assets, Lighthouse, Rock Walls, and Rock Wall Test. There we go. So we have this guy. And we have the material, which is super handy, because now it's super easy to just like drop the albedo map. There we go. Here, and this is something that we're going to have to do in Unreal as well, we're going to tile this again. So let's say 6 tiles so that we get the proper repetition. And now I'm actually going to place like all of the normal maps. So the normal map would go, of course, on the normal map. And look at that. Beautiful. Pushing the stones like forward. A lot better than Maya, right? This is one of the reasons why Viewport 2.0 is not like super good, because even though it does give you the proper results, it's not great. So here's the normal map. And then we have this map, which is... This is a very curious map. We've talked about this one before, but for those of you that are new to the channel, which by the way, welcome, make sure to leave a like and everything. This is a very like traditional condensed map that we use in Unreal, which is called the Occlusion, Roughness, Metallic. So those 3 maps, the Ambient Occlusion map, the Metallic map, and the Roughness map, are all black and white maps. And the way we save a little bit of space is by saving each of those in a different channel. So red is going to be my ambient occlusion, green is going to be my roughness, and blue is going to be my metallic. So in this case, there's no metallic, so it's completely black. Green, the whiter it gets, the more rough, so the drier or the madder it will look. And the red is just ambient occlusion, which is going to give a little bit more depth to the whole thing. So the way this works is you're gonna bring this, for instance, like the roughness right here, and you're gonna change the channel from red to green because that's the channel that's actually like doing the work. And as you can see here, the elements are gonna start looking very, very nice. Down here, we need to create an ambient occlusion channel because usually by default it's not on. We bring this into the ambient occlusion, that's going to be a red channel. So as you can see, it really brings a little bit of extra punch to the whole thing. It gives it this sort of like depth, which by the way, you can minimize if it's a little bit too much, which is always great. And then finally, the metallic. Now, we don't really need to plug in the metallic. I mean, we can do it, of course, but we don't need to because the blue channel is just like a completely black channel. So it's telling the object you're not metallic. So there we go. Now I'm gonna go to the sky and I'm gonna change the preset because it's gonna look a little bit better if we do like a beach. I really like the one from like this beach rocky. That's fine. I really like the one from Substance, the Corsica beach. I think it's very cool, but I think this one's gonna give us the sort of like desired effect. So let's go here. I'm gonna just click the sun, and that's gonna add a light right there, as you can see. And now we can move this around so that we can see how this thing is gonna be affecting the scene. And here's where the magic happens. I'm gonna go up here to the displacement tab, and I'm gonna add a height displacement. And on the height displacement, I'm gonna drag the height map that we have. Now, by default, the height will work. As you can see, vertices are being pushed at different like scales of my object. But the problem is that right now, there's not enough resolution for my object to properly displace all the stones. And there's different ways to do subdivisions. However, the one that I personally like is this thing called PN triangles. So the PN triangles, what it will do, and I think I can show you here with a wireframe, it will triangulate, as you can see, everything. And the more subdivisions that I add, as you can see, the more triangles we're gonna get. See, it's kind of like Dynamesh sort of thing. It's not a Dynamesh, it's just triangulated everything. But let's say like 10 levels of subdivision, which as you can see, it's not that bad. It's only giving me 53,000 triangles, which again, not that bad. And as you can see, you even get like how much memory and VRAM you're using, not a lot. And as you can see, this now will displace the stones in a very nice way. Now we can keep pushing, like we can go, let's say to like 200,000 polygons like this, and you're gonna see more and more detail coming into the object. That's why we needed the initial subdivisions inside of Maya, so that when we do this sort of technique, we create a very nice effect, okay? So I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna say callback faces so that we can see the inner faces, even though this is completely flat. And now, the great thing is that we can change the scale of the displacement. So in this case, I'm just gonna displace very, very slightly, so just like that. And that's it. Like, look at this. You're going to be in-game, and this is what your character is going to be seeing in-game. So, super good. You can see my computer's not struggling at all. We are using 10 megabytes of VRAM, so we are actually, like, pushing this quite a bit. Like, 10 megabytes, it's quite a bit for this. But we can even bring this down to, like, say, 10 subdivisions, and we're still going to get a little bit of displacement here and there, which is going to be great. Let me add another light so that you guys can see a little bit more. So, if I add this light and increase the lightness, you can see the shadows there. And those shadows are being done thanks to the displacement. Like the displacement is actually like pushing the vertices of my surface a little bit like higher. Let's go a little bit higher. Let's go to like 15. There we go. See that? Like what a difference, right? Like it actually looks like we're pushing the whole thing out. So height and displacements are going to be super, super useful for this technique. And see how the round corners also help? Like we're not going to get like super weird stones here. They look a little bit closer to what we would expect in real life. Eventually, I'm not sure if we were going to be able to do it because I do not have an RTX card. Marmoset does allow you to do ray tracing, which is going to give you a better bounce. Let me go here into the sky, maybe a little bit more brightness and modify the color. There we go. So this one will give me a nice ray tracing effect, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do it in Unreal because I do not have an RTX card. I'm thinking about getting one, but the prices are super high right now, so... I updated my computer recently, but I couldn't afford the GPU. So, yeah, there we go. That's it, guys. As you can see, this is a very, very nice technique to generate a lot of detail, and no big deal. Like, if you can model this thing in Maya, which I'm pretty sure any one of you, by following these tutorials, should be able to do it, you're going to be able to create this sort of effects inside of Marmoset or inside of Unreal without any issue. Last thing, just to create a nice render here, I'm going to go Scene, Add Object, and we're gonna add a shadow catcher, so that's gonna catch the shadow right there, and that's it. We have our very nice little tower. So this is it for today, guys. Short video. I know some of you guys are enjoying Thanksgiving, so just have a good time, get some rest, make sure you relax a little bit. We've We all deserve it. A little bit of rest, right? Every now and then. Christmas is coming as well. And yeah, tomorrow we'll do another bit for the lighthouse, and then on the weekend I'm gonna spend the weekend just to go over some of the features about the new ZBrush 2022. So I'm gonna be talking about Bevel Pro, which is a very, very nice tool, and we're gonna be talking about which one was the other one that was important that I saw. I don't remember, but I'll figure it out, and I'll let you guys know. Also, stay tuned for the surprise video that we're going to be dropping very, very soon. So make sure to hit subscribe, share, like. The little bell icon will give you the notification so that you know exactly when we drop it. And yeah, that's it. Happy Thanksgiving, guys. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.